Hey guys, my name is Ethan, this is Carberra. Welcome to series where I teach you how to code in Python. Today we were talking about logical operators. These things are very important in general program flows. Essentially, they're generally used in if statements and stuff like that to check if certain things are true or false. So all these things will return booleans once we're actually done with them. So you have a few. So I'm going to talk about the is equal and not equal ones first, which look like that respectively. So these are pretty simple. Does 5 equal 5? Yes, it does. Fantastic. Does 4 equal 5? No, it doesn't. So because 5 is equal to 5, we have true here. But because 4 does not equal to 5, it returns false. The same goes for the not equal. So 4 does not equal 5. So that's true. However, 5 does equal 5. So this returns false. So this checks if something is not equal to. So this is the exact polar opposite of this double equals here. So whenever this would return true, this would return false. Whenever this would return false, this would return true. That is a pretty good way of remembering it. On top of that, we also have an array of greater than or less than symbols. So does 5, is 5 greater than 5? No. Is 4 greater than 5? No. Is 6 greater than 5? Yes. So this works pretty much exactly how you'd expect. If you've done maths beyond, I'm not sure what year they teach you this nowadays. But if something is greater than something else, this is going to be true. If you want it to check if it's greater than or equal to something else, you can do that. So you can have just a greater than symbol and then an equal sign as well, and this will check if it is greater than or equal to true. So 6 is greater than or equal to 5, which is true. However, 4 is not, so that would still return false. The same rules apply for the less than, so 4 is less than 5, etc. I don't need to demonstrate all that with the less than as well, because it works on exactly the same rules. So those are the symbols out of the way, but there are also some other operators that you can use that have more in key words. So you have and, or, is, and not. So for example, you can have not true is false, and not false is true. So not is basically just the opposite. However, if you did not 5, that would equal false because, again, we're just dealing with booleans here. So as I said in my data types video, 5 registers as true in a boolean context. If you want more information on that, I recommend you go and actually watch that video, which will be in a card in the top right. If I have forgotten, then let me know in the comments because I always forget. I don't think I've ever remembered once. But yeah, the not is pretty simple. Okay, sorry about that weird cut. I had to reset my terminal. We're fine. We just finished talking about nots, so I'm going to move on to the and now. So the and is more for composite statements or combined statements, I guess, however you want to call it. So you could do, for example, 5 is greater than 3 and 6 is greater than 9. As you can see, one of those is false, so it returns false. So 5 is greater than 3 is true, but 6 is greater than 9 is not true, so it returns false. So if we do this and then we actually correct it, it will return true because both of these statements are true. Note that you don't need parentheses for this, and the and is just the word and. It's not a double and like it is in other languages. The and is an operator in itself, but we're not talking about that right now. So just remember it is and. So the or works in a very expected way. So if we just use this example from before, you could say that 5 is greater than 3 is true. 6 is greater than 9 is false. However, because we're only checking if one of them is true, we can do true here. However, if we did this, 9 greater than 6, that is still true. But if both of them were false, and 6 is greater than 9, then it will return false. Well, that's the and then if we did the or as well, then that returns false as well. Because in this one, neither of them are true, so it doesn't matter. In this one, neither of them are true, so it returns false in the same way. So the and the or and the not work pretty much as you would expect. In terms of compound operations, you may need to use brackets at some point. So for example, you could do hello equals hello and 3 is greater than 5, or 9 is greater than 6. Oops, I just didn't write anything down there. Oh, I didn't end the string. That was my bad entirely. There we go. So this equals true, because 9 is greater than 6 is true, and this statement is not. You don't actually need the brackets here. I'll just put them here anyway. So this statement in the brackets is evaluated all at the same time. So both of these statements are false. So everything inside these brackets returns false. So you're now left with false or 9 is greater than 6, which is true. So false or true equals true. So that is how you can do some compound stuff. If you're having issues with errors or it's not correct, then there's probably some sort of brackets that you're missing. You don't need them, but you can use them if you want. There's literally nothing stopping you from using them in every situation should you wish to. But generally speaking, you probably shouldn't, because that's just not what Python is. Python doesn't need the brackets there. The is keyword is kind of interesting. It's pretty odd. So if you do, say for example, 5 is 5, it'll come up as true. However, it will also give you a warning. I believe this is from 3.9 onwards. I'm not sure if 3.8 does the same thing. You say is with a literal. Did you mean double equals? So generally speaking, you're going to use double equals more than the is. So in these examples here, you can say 5 is 4 is false, but int is true, and int is string is true. So this int is, of course, the data type. So ints are ints, however, ints are not strings. So that returns false. If you do stuff with literals, it kind of gets a bit weird. So 5 is 4 returns false, even though they're the same data type. I'm not really sure what the rules around is statements with literals are, but typically speaking, you would generally use them, the is, to compare if two objects are of the same type. So you could, for example, say 0 is none. For example, none being a particular object. And so 0 does not equal none, so this returns false. The is generally most used when comparing nuns. However, you can use them for different objects, but we're not dealing with objects right now. But it's another one of those things with bytes where the is pretty weird, pretty non-standard. You're probably not going to use it an awful lot in the basics, but I just kind of want you to know that it exists, just so you can. It's a thing. It's a thing, it exists, and you know that stuff happens with it, pretty much. But you would again generally use the double equals for these things. So that pretty much brings me to the end of what I wanted to talk about there. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below, or you can join the Discord server using the link in the description. While you're down there, I'd recommend that you check out my socials, so my Twitter, my Facebook, my library is all down there. I also have a new Twitch channel. I know I said that in every video, but it's still pretty new to me, where I do streams of coding and stuff, so if that interests you, make sure you follow that. With that, I'm going to end the video there. If you liked it, then say hello down below. If you really liked it, then consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell so you don't miss out on future uploads. And if you really, really liked it, then consider supporting me on Patreon. Of course, you don't have to, but a really cool thing if you did do. With that in mind, I'd like to thank my amazing patrons for supporting me, and I will see you next time when we talk about collection types. So we're going to be talking about lists, tuples, dictionaries, and all that stuff. So I'll see you for that.